You know that feeling when you just want to get a place really quickly, understand its story?
Yeah, without wading through tons of text.
Exactly. That's what we do here. And today, we're focusing on a really impressive building, the Arad Administrative Palace. You probably know it as Arad City Hall.
Ah, Arad. It's a city with such a rich, um, complex history. It's right there on the Murray River, a real crossroads.
Definitely. And you see that history layered in the architecture, right? It's this amazing mix.
It really is. You've got Baroque, eclectic, neo-Gothic, Renaissance, even secession styles all mingling there.
So this palace sits right in the middle of all that. Our mission today, using this great micromonograph and fact sheet we have, is to, well, dig into its story.
Look at where it came from, its architecture, the big moments that happened there.
Exactly. It's a building that's really seen things.
It absolutely has. And to really understand this palace, we kind of need to look at what came before it. The sources say it's actually the fourth town hall Arad has had.
The fourth. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Back in the 17th century, Arad wasn't one single town, was it?
No, that's right. You had the Germantown up north, about 21 streets, maybe 380 houses, mostly craftsmen living there.
Okay.
And then south, you had the Serbian town, smaller, just 11 streets, 150-odd houses, mainly Serbian border guards, their families.
Interesting split.
Yeah, and the total population for both was like less than 6,000 people back then, and each part had its own little town hall. Pretty basic, you imagine.
Two towns, two administrations.
Yeah.
Gives you a real sense of that era. But then Empress Maria Theresa steps in, 1747.
Yes, she unifies them under Austrian rule. Arad becomes a cameral town.
What do you mean?
Basically, it was run directly by the imperial treasury, not local lords. Centralized control.
Right. And that probably created the need for a more, unified symbol of government.
Exactly, which leads us to Town Hall number 3, inaugurated in 1770. The monograph calls this one a bit more substantial.
How so?
Well, it was ground floor plus one on the main street. Provincial Baroque style. They added a clock tower later on, too, which must have been quite the landmark.
Okay, a proper building.
Yeah.
And it lasted for over a century.
It did, and it wasn't just functional. It saw a really major historical moment.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
This is pretty amazing. It was the site of the very last meeting of the Hungarian Revolutionary Government. Kossuth Lajos leading it, August 11th, 1849.
Wow. Right there in that, seemingly modest building.
Makes you think, doesn't it? How history happens in unexpected places.
It really does. History leaves its mark. But that third town hall, it eventually had to go.
It did. Demolished in 1880, replaced by the Domani Palace. But even before that, the idea for a really modern town hall was brewing. Arad became a free royal city in 1834. It was growing.
So the seed was planted early on, even before the 48 revolution. What finally kicked off the actual building project?
The big decision came in 1872. And interestingly, they approved building a new modern theater at the same time.
Very big investments in civic life, cultural life. But it meant they needed money. They had to get a pretty hefty loan from a Viennese bank to cover both projects.
Sounds like a big gamble for the city. How did they pick the design for the new town hall?
They held a public tender, got 17 proposals apparently,
Wow.
and they chose the design by a young Hungarian architect, Lechner Ödön. He was starting to make a name for himself.
Lechner. Okay. And did he have a specific spot in mind?
Yes, the upper end of the main street near the river, right where the old salt depot stood.
So, out with the old.
Pretty much. They had to demolish the depot and also move the statue of St. Nepomuk. That statue dated back to 1729. It was the oldest Baroque piece in Arad.
Moving that. That must have been quite something. But you mentioned money troubles, building this, the theater, and a high school.
Yeah, it was a stretch. The Royal High School was going up at the same time. 3 massive projects, tricky economic times. It meant they had to, adjust the plans for the palace.
So Lechner's original vision got tweaked a bit. Exactly. An Arad architect, Pikar Ferenc, was brought in to simplify things.
Wow.
They cut a planned wing on the riverside and also removed the second floor, except for the central bit right under the tower.
Practicalities.
You got it. It wasn't maybe the full dream, but it made it possible financially. That often happens with these big civic projects, doesn't it? Vision versus budget.
True. So when did this revised version actually start going up?
The main building was erected in 1874. And it opened partially the next year, 1875.
Already functional.
Yeah, it had, get this, 90 offices, plus the big festive hall and a smaller meeting room. The mayor then was that Peter.
90 offices. And the tower. The really iconic part, that came later.
Just a bit later. The tower, 54 meters high, and the festive hall were officially inaugurated on January 10th, 1877.
Big day for Arad.
Huge. Atzel Peter, who is now the county prefect, gave this speech, calling it an eloquent testimony to the spirit of the community. You can imagine the pride.
Definitely a moment of civic celebration. Who was the first mayor to really settle into this grand new building?
That would be Salat Grula. Took office March 1st, 1876, and he stayed for 26 years.
26 years, that's incredible.
A record tenure. He's really remembered for pushing Arad's modernization. His motto was, "The interests of the city come first." Simple, but powerful.
Seems like he meant it.
Yeah, they even unveiled a bust of him in 2012. A lasting tribute.
A long-serving mayor, a landmark building.
Yeah.
They become intertwined with the city's story.
Okay.
Let's look at the building itself. Architecturally, what stands out?
Well, it's got that classic U shape, 3 wings around a big inner courtyard, 3 main gates to get in, and the central tower is really distinctive. Prismatic shape, reminds you a bit of Flemish town halls, actually.
Interesting comparison.
And get this, the Swiss clock they put in back in 1878, it's still working perfectly.
No way. That's amazing craftsmanship. What about the details on the outside?
Oh yeah, plenty to see. Above the main entrance, look for the fragmented balcony arches supported by those big pillars. That fronts the festive hall inside. And right in the tympanum, that triangular bit above, you've got the city's coat of arms. Very prominent.
A clear symbol of civic pride. The source mentions Arad was quite ahead of the curve, building a palace like this during the dualist period. What does that signal?
It really shows their ambition, I think. Their forward thinking. Austro-Hungarian Empire times were changing, and Arad clearly wanted an administrative center that reflected its growing importance.
Making a statement. And the style is neo-Renaissance, right?
Yeah.
How does it fit with the buildings nearby?
Yes. Textbook neo-Renaissance. And its location is key. It's right in the middle of the boulevard with the Synod Palace on one side, the Treasury Palace on the other. It creates this really harmonious group.
An architectural ensemble.
Exactly. And they light it up at night now, too, which really highlights it all.
Sounds beautiful. What's it like inside when you walk in?
The main entrance hall is really spacious, grand marble staircases going up. And as you go up, you see these beautiful stained glass windows, Murano glass, by an artist named Sever Ferranziu. They represent the 4 seasons, adds a real touch of art.
Murano glass.
Right.
Very classy. And the main festive hall. King Ferdinand Hall, they call it now.
Oh, that's the centerpiece, really. Got a balcony overlooking the square. It's where the city council meets, hosts big events. And they did a big restoration job between 2012 and 2014. Brought back all the original ornamentation, the old coat of arms, everything. It looks fantastic.
Restoring its former glory.
Precisely. And they've put up oil portraits of King Ferdinand and Queen Mary, too, connecting it to Romania's royal past.
So it honors both the city and the nation's history. What about the area right outside?
In 1988, they landscaped the plateau in front, put in this big, colorful mosaic of Barad's coat of arms, makes it feel welcoming.
A nice touch. And it's still the working heart of the city government.
Yep. Houses both the city hall and the county prefecture today. Still doing its job.
It's fascinating to think about who's walked those halls. The micromonograph mentions some famous visitors back in the day.
Yeah, this is cool. In the 19th century, they actually had a dedicated, luxuriously furnished guest room.
Really? For who?
Emperor Franz Joseph stayed there in 1884.
The emperor himself?
And the famous painter, Munkaksi Mahali, in 1890. And the novelist Yochai Moore, same year. Imagine the conversations.
Absolutely. A direct link to major figures of the era. And it had practical features too, right? Like in the tower.
Oh, yes. There was an observation post up there, specifically for fire spotting. Had a bell, a flag system to show where the fire was. Very important back then.
A crucial service.
And funny thing about the clock initially, only 3 sides had faces. The one facing the river was added later. Being the city clockmaker was apparently a big deal, a real position of honor.
Keeping the city on time. And then there's that charming story about the courtyard.
Yes. Apparently, in the early 1900s, a whole family of peacocks lived in the inner courtyard.
Peacocks. Seriously.
Yep.
Adds a bit of unexpected color, doesn't it? A touch of nature in the middle of administration.
That's wonderful. Really humanizes the place. What about that gate near the Treasury building? Is that connected?
That gate went up in 1931, got renovated in the 70s. So not original to the palace itself, but it's part of that whole historic area now. Adds to the overall feel.
Okay, so the palace wasn't just about paperwork. It was center stage for big historical moments.
Absolutely. The building, the square out front, they've always been central to Arad's life. Back in the 1890s, the Cultsy Cultural Association held literary events in the main hall.
Cultural hub, too.
And in the early 1900s, the Romanian Cultural Association, led by Vasil Goldiai, a major figure, held their big meetings there. So a real focus for cultural and national identity.
You see the city's story unfolding right there. And it was central during turbulent times as well.
For sure. May 1919, the Romanian administration was formally installed in the palace. A huge turning point. We even have the names of the first elected Romanian mayors, like Ion Robu. Their portraits are actually in the lobby now. A visual history of leadership. The 1930s depression hit Arad too, I assume.
Oh, yes. The square saw demonstrations, protests,
Yeah.
including by the unemployed in the early 30s. Grim times reflected right there. Shows how these public spaces become focal points for everything, good and bad.
True. Then came World War II and its aftermath. The palace remained important.
Well, on a happier note, July 1945, they held a big reception there for the first Romanian army returning from the front.
A celebration.
Yeah, and later on, you had figures like Ceausescu, even King Mihai the Sturdy, giving speeches from the palace balcony during visits.
That balcony has seen some history. A direct line from leaders to the people. And then, much more recently, it played a role in the 1989 revolution.
A pivotal role. Arad was the second city where the revolution broke out, and tragically, the first shots were fired right there in the square. Young people died.
Awful.
It's why the boulevard is now Revolution Boulevard, and the square is Revolution Square. There's the Martyrs' Cross, the obelisk, solemn memorials to that time.
A powerful reminder etched into the city landscape. But it's still a living space today, right? Not just a monument.
Oh, absolutely. The plateau in front is buzzing all the time. Christmas markets, Easter fairs, concerts, exhibitions, even sports events like the Arad Rally finished there.
Right.
It's very much alive.
Great to hear. It's been fascinating tracing all this history. And for anyone listening who might want to visit, the sources have practical info too.
They do. Official name, Administrative Palace or Arad City Hall. Address, 75 Revolution Boulevard. Visiting hours are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and no entry fee.
Good to know. Easy to get to. Public transport.
Very easy. Loads of tram lines stop right nearby, 1, 3, 6, 10, 12, 16, 18B. And there's lots to see around it, too.
Like what?
Well, the Senedd Palace, National Bank Palace, Newman Palace are all close. Plus the Vasil Goldiai statue, the Cultural Palace. You can easily spend a day exploring that area.
It's like a great historical hub.
Yeah.
And places to stay nearby.
Yeah, several hotels right there. Hotel Continental Forum, Best Western Central, Hotel Arad. Good options.
Excellent. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, what are the main things we should take away about the Arad Administrative Palace?
Well, I think the key thing is that it's so much more than just a beautiful building. It's like a living witness to centuries of Arad's story.
From unification to revolution.
Exactly. And architecturally, it's this fantastic neo-Renaissance piece that anchors that whole central boulevard.
And it's that mix, isn't it? The big historical events, the little details like the clock or the peacocks.
Yeah.
That makes it feel so real.
It really does. Which makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe look at the main administrative building in your own town or city. What stories does it hold? How does its architecture reflect your community's past? Maybe, look up some pictures of the Arad Palace online, too. Buildings can tell you a lot if you look closely.